Bonn Park is supported by Classic Indian, fresh and flavorful since 2001. For almost 20 years, Classic Indian has earned its reputation as one of Waterloo Region's favorite sources of chicken tikka masala, onion bhajiyas, samosas, and dosas. That probably made your mouth a little bit water just now. If you've had Classic Indian before, you know their South Indian specialties are spectacular. From dosas, a gluten-free crispy rice and lentil crepe, veggie madras, a peppery mix of vegetables in a thick coconut curry, and the fiery beef vindaloo, spicy yet flavorful. Be warned. If you haven't yet had their food, you owe it to your taste buds. Opening soon in a brand new location at 10 Wyman Road in Waterloo, across from the beer store, Staples, and Home Depot, Classic Indian is offering a new convenient rush hour lunch menu, as well as an extensive dinner menu for takeout and contactless delivery. Chef Thiru, who owns the family-run restaurant, says fresh quality ingredients, from the farm to the fire to the fork, give Classic Indian dishes their rich, complex flavors. Those flavors are brought to life by their commitment to high-quality, healthy food with lots of vegetarian and vegan options tailored to suit your family's dietary requirements. Chef Thiru's mulligatawny soup, his signature recipe, was recognized by the Heart and Stroke Foundation's Most Heart Healthy Soup Award. It tastes like a guilty pleasure for the vegans and meat eaters alike, but it isn't. The name simply means pepper water. Heading on a road trip or visiting with friends or family, you can pick up prepared sauces and soups, including the mulligatawny, that you can cook up fresh, hearty meals with for the entire family in minutes. And Chef Thiru has prepared food for many tables, from sultans to celebrities, in kitchens from India to Switzerland to Dubai to New York, and now to a place he calls home, Waterloo. And when he's not making magic in the kitchen, he and the Classic Indian team enjoyed taking part in community events in support of the Food Bank of Waterloo Region, International Women's Day, the Canadian Cancer Society, and the Child Witness Center of Waterloo Region. This fall, check out Classic Indian at their new location at 10 Wyman Road in Waterloo. Order online for pickup and delivery at classicindiancuisine.com or call 519-746-1976. You can also find them on Instagram at Classic Indian KW. Classic Indian has become a classic Waterloo favorite. Stop drooling and make an order. And don't forget to try the mulligatawny soup. We are supported by Baby Charlotte. Located in beautiful Belmont Village in Kitchener, Baby Charlotte has, for over a decade, always put the safety of children and families first. That's why Baby Charlotte has taken their time reopening, currently inviting only one person or a small group of up to 5 people in the same social bubble in the shop at a time. Curbside pickup and local deliveries are also available. Owner Carla Mueller, who herself is high risk for the illness, is incredibly grateful to their loyal customers. They have stood by her family-run business through the pandemic, as Baby Charlotte found alternative ways to shop through social media, phone orders, and virtual tours. Baby Charlotte's mission has always been to find safe alternatives for everything from teething toys to diaper cream to big kid toys up to 10 years. Everything they sell, from organic baby clothing and feeding accessories to sensory toys and playsets, is responsibly made for families and our planet. The toys you'll find at Baby Charlotte are made by reputable and trustworthy manufacturers. Baby Charlotte has clothing made from natural fibers and many other products from companies that submit to third-party testing. Baby Charlotte's Sunlit store has shelves full of clothing, toys, gear, and healthy body care for the whole family. They've got amazingly comfy Patrick cottage slippers, and they have lots of popular Jellycat stuffed animals, which are so soft and cute you have to adopt one yourself. Baby Charlotte is excited to invite you back into their store again, one at a time, or up to 5 people if you're in the same bubble, or visit babycharlotte.com. Pickup hours are Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. with local deliveries nightly. Carla can help you put together an order through Instagram at Baby Charlotte Mama, Facebook Messenger, or by phone at 519-570-0648. Bonn Park is supported by Olive Divine. Olive Divine, in the main building of the St. Jacobs Farmers Market, has fine olive oil and aged balsamic vinegar to please your palate. Their signature is a cold-pressed garlic fusion 100% Grecian extra virgin olive oil. This family recipe, made from the finest Koroneki olives from Kalamata, is a point of pride for owner Yoda Petrikas. Once you try it, you'll know why. But there's much more to explore at Olive Divine, like balsamic reductions in a variety of flavors like strawberry, fig, basil, and truffle. There are no added sugars, just balsamic vinegar, real fruit, and the majority are gluten-free. Want to taste something new? Chances are you've never tasted a vinegar like Messino's balsamic with honey. Yoda will tell you that the honey in Greece is rich and velvety thanks to Greece's nearly unlimited sunshine. Or perhaps you could try Olive Divine's new line of Iliada Grecian extra virgin olive oil, all ideal for cooking, salad dressings, and drizzled on pastas and veggies. This year, Iliada Extra Virgin Olive Oil has won international olive oil competitions in New York, London, Athens, and China. At Olive Divine, Yoda loves giving people the chance to taste healthy, high-quality olive oils and balsamic vinegars. Once you try the good stuff, you won't go back. So come on out, all of you, to Olive Divine at the St. Jacobs Farmers Market, Thursdays and Saturdays.
Welcome to Bonn Park.
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 Welcome to Bonn Park. I'm Sara Geidlinger.
And I'm Marshall Ward.
And today we have Dr. Tina Rogers.
Yeah, we cover a lot in this hour, from gut health and garlic
to Tina's athleticism and all the competitions that she's been in.
Yeah, she's full of insight, and this is a really fascinating, wide-ranging conversation with her.
Yeah, we learned a lot.
Yeah, let's bring in Tina.
Tina Rogers, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Naturopathic doctor, athlete.
Yes.
We want to talk to you about all those things.
Sure.
Yeah, but first, I'm curious, how did you meet Dr. Tina?
Actually, we're lifelong friends, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So your husband, CJR,
Yes.
Charlie, has been on the show. He was one of our first guests. But your sister, Catherine, is one of my very closest friends. And she actually introduced Steve and I in high school.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
that's how we know each other.
Oh, wow.
But yes, of course, Steve approached her and he was like, I need to know your friend. Who's this friend? And she's like, I know somebody who likes you. And I was like, is it that guy Mike? And she's like, no, it's Steve Geidlinger. And the rest is history.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So Catherine is still one of my closest friends, and I cherish her so much. But I've also gotten to know you over the years and
Yes.
spent time with you.
That's true.
And we also had Krista Wise on the show. She was very early on in January, I think. And she had years-long struggle with Lyme disease. And she told us that you were her naturopathic doctor, and you were pivotal in helping her recover and get better and find the treatment that she needed.
Lyme disease is something that I find there's a lot of information out there, and it's I can find it can be tricky to sort through.
Yep.
And to make good choices about. The more I read, the more, I can really scare myself.
Absolutely.
And there's a protected green belt behind my home, and I think, well, can I never walk through the grass again and in shorts?
That's
and things.
true.
And then there's other things where I realized in the past I didn't take things seriously. I remember before I knew anything about Lyme disease, I'd go to a beach and it may say something about Lyme disease and ticks, and I just shrugged and never thought much about it. So anyways, where are we at in Canada with Lyme disease, and what's the best advice for those of us who just want to enjoy our summer times and enjoy camping and hiking,
Sure.
but at the same time be really mindful, maybe in a similar way to how we are about mosquitoes,
For sure.
and how we just want to take care of ourselves and don't put ourselves in any situation or less likely situation without staying in our homes all the time.
Absolutely. I think with Lyme disease in Canada, medical doctors are becoming more and more aware of what Lyme disease is and how it actually can affect people and how it can become chronic. So that's one of the new things that we're learning about. And for instance, you were talking about the beach, like the Pinery and Grand Bend area is actually deemed an epidemic there for Lyme disease. So I think the best thing for Lyme is just prevention, right? So if you're walking through tall grasses or if you are hiking, just check yourself. So when you're done, just check out your legs, check out your body, have someone check your back to see if there is a tick, because if there is one, the faster you can identify it and see that you have it on you, you can get it off, and then you can get treatment. And then the Lyme disease doesn't become a chronic issue. And so people don't end up having the same issues that those who have chronic Lyme do. That would be my best guess. And then the other thing is, if you are going into an area that is an epidemic, so if you're going hiking in the Pinery, making sure that you wear long sleeves and long pants, right? So that there's less chance of a tick getting on you. But my son, I would say in our area, we live in Dune. And we live actually next to a forested area, and we have found a couple ticks on Teddy. They weren't fully engorged, so they were easy to get off. And then what we actually did was we took them to public health, and then they were able to identify if the tick was a deer tick or was it a dog tick. And both times it was a dog tick.
What's the difference?
The difference. So dog ticks, they look differently. You'd have to look under like a magnifying glass to actually see the difference. But dog ticks don't carry Lyme, whereas deer ticks do carry Lyme. And the way that tick, there's a technical name, like a scientific name. I just don't know what it is offhand. But the thing about the deer ticks is they got that name because deers can hold up to 200 ticks on each ear.
Poor deers.
Yeah, poor deers. But for some reason, they don't get the infection compared to us humans.
Do dogs get the infection?
Yep.
They do get it. And
They
they'll
do
be
get it.
bitten by a deer tick then?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Very confusing.
It's interesting because when I go to the animal clinic where my cats go,
Yeah.
there's lots of education there.
For sure.
All over the place. About
They know
ticks.
all about it.
Yeah, for some reason, humans, it's this thing that unless a celebrity has Lyme disease, we don't hear a lot about it.
No. It's almost like it was taboo for
totally.
someone to have Lyme disease. But like I said, there's more research coming out about it and more people are being identified as having Lyme. So we are learning more in Canada. I would say in New York State, they also know quite a bit about Lyme disease, but and Germany. Germany is kind of the leaders in Lyme. But in other areas, they still don't know very much about it.
So a lot of my family lives up in the Kawartha areas, and they all have a tick remover on their keychain. Mm-hmm. What's that? And how do I use it? Should I get one?
You could get one. Sure, you could get one.
Do you have one?
We have one.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one. We actually sell them at our clinic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But more so people have bought them at the clinic for dogs, but that's okay. But it's when a tick gets on you, it actually burrows its head into your skin. So they're very hard.
And it like
to take off.
anesthetizes you.
Correct.
Can you say it?
Anesthetizes.
Is that
you?
it? Oh man.
Yeah, but they do burrow in, so they're hard to take out. So they're almost like a tick remover is almost like a tweezer. So it just helps remove the tick's whole body from you.
So probably a good idea to have them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I find this all really scary. The stakes are just so high, you know. It's could be living your life like anything can come your way, I guess. But
Sure.
I mean,
Especially after hearing about Krista's struggle.
yeah, and just how debilitating it can be for such a long, arduous, drawn-out period. I guess my last question about Lyme disease for you is, when did it come on your radar? Like, and I guess health professionals, it's either an area they're looking into or they're not for some reason.
Correct. I would say it came onto my radar. How long ago was that? Probably 5 or 6 years ago. I just had a patient who had really odd symptoms and nothing was getting better at all. And I asked her, I said, do you camp a lot? And she goes, oh yeah, I camp a lot. I camp out in Point Peely. That's also an area that's Lyme endemic. And I said, oh, have you ever been tested for Lyme? And she said, no. So we ran some testing through public health. And the thing about Canada, it's not that our testing is bad, but it only tests for a specific strain of Lyme disease. And what we have known now is that there are different strains of Lyme disease. So we did actually send her testing to Germany, and that came back positive. And then that's where I had to do some research to figure out how we were going to treat her. And we wrote a letter to her doctor, and then her doctor agreed that she had Lyme, and he gave her the antibiotics to be treated. And then we changed her diet, and we did some natural support to help. Yeah.
So this could be part of why sometimes people test negative.
Correct.
And then they find out they have it.
Correct.
Okay. So I wouldn't have known that either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our testing in Canada is expanding. Actually, recently I had another patient. They went up north, and she said, I just noticed I had this bump on my leg, and she didn't even know it was a tick. And then probably about a week later, she ended up with this bullseye rash. So that's the thing about Lyme disease is the tick. It's the species is called Borrelia burgdorferi, right? And so she ended up with this bullseye rash. So that's kind of a clear-cut symptom that you have Lyme. And so she went to the hospital, and they took the tick out. So then immediately she was given antibiotics, which is doxycycline. And I think she was given a week's worth. And then she just came in for routine a checkup with me for acupuncture, actually. And she had mentioned it, and she said, I feel really foggy. I still don't feel well, and I have these random joint pains. And then she was like, and, I had Lyme disease. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. Have you been sent to an infectious disease doctor, right? And she said, no, I haven't. I said, well, I think it's probably a good idea since you don't feel so well, because that is typical. The Lyme symptoms can persist. So she went to this infectious disease doctor in Toronto, and he actually, where was it? I believe it was in a surrounding area, but they're actually starting to do experimental lab testing. So kind of looking at different strains. And so he sent her there, and she had that blood test done, which she did have to pay out of pocket. So it was not covered by OHIP. I think the cost was like 250 Canadian. But it turned out that the Lyme was still positive. So then she had more treatment. And again, with Lyme disease, one of the things in the diet that feeds it is sugar. So we had to cut back on her sugar intake. And then we also supported her with a couple herbs. And now she's feeling much better. She's fantastic. Functioning better. Her energy's better, and her mind's not foggy.
You've talked about something here. You've mentioned something that I want to know more about, because I know that it's not good.
Yes.
Sugar. Let's talk about sugar.
Oh, wow. Sure. Sugar is not good for your body. No. I think the big thing is sugars in all of our food. And it actually lights up certain parts of your brain called dopamine receptors, right?
I've seen this comparison photo on, a meme on Instagram or whatever. Here's your brain on cocaine, and here's your brain on sugar. And the sugar one looks worse. Is that modified or is it true?
No, it's true. It's true. They just did a study in which they had mice, and they were given, which is maybe a little bit inhumane, but it was interesting.
Moving on.
They gave the mice cocaine. And then they had a drip bottle of sugar. And then they gave the mice the option. They had the drip bottle of cocaine and the drip bottle of sugar. And the mice actually picked the sugar over cocaine.
Proving the addiction
level of sugar, because sugar really intensifies our dopamine response, which is our feel-good reward hormone.
And that's why it's such a treat for everyone,
absolutely.
Right?
But maybe the mice wanted to make the good moral choice and not support the
the cocaine. The
cocaine.
Those wily mice. They know, huh?
Yeah, so it is in everything. And we all know that sugar can cause diabetes. That's one of the problems with it. But one of the biggest things is sugar alters our microbiome. So it changes the bacteria in our gut. And those little bacteria in our gut can actually change our hormones. They can cause lots of inflammation in our body. And they can actually change our thinking too. So they can make you feel a little bit foggy as well. And I always tell my patients, we actually have more bacteria in our gut than we have cells in our body.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. So yeah, sugar is it's not good, but it's as I drink a sugary drink.
That normally, so let's just talk about that. I've brought you a latte tonight.
Yes.
And normally it comes with 4 pumps of syrup. So I think it'll say on the side, I think I asked for 1.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll say 2.
No, 1. Let me see. 2.
2. Oh, so you're really enjoying a treat tonight.
Oh, I am.
But normally that small cup would have 4
pumps.
And a pump has got to be more than a tablespoon. The way that I
Correct.
see it coming out, it's got to be 2 or 3 tablespoons of that sugar. So
Yeah.
that's a lot.
It's a lot.
And our kids drink it and we enjoy it. I'm not a huge sugar fan, but in drinks like
everywhere.
this, it's everywhere. But it's also secretly in a bunch of foods.
Totally.
Breads and cereals and like even
Pasta sauce.
Pasta sauce.
Yeah.
Why does that need to be sweet? I want mine to be tangy.
When Dr. Tina mentioned brain fog, that's a term I think I only heard recently, like in recent years. I imagine people 20 years ago weren't talking about brain fog.
No.
Probably didn't have the vocabulary for it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that and just that's a odd one to define, but I think we all fully understand it.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. Because brain fog can be caused by lots of different things. Like one of the things that can cause brain fog is hormones, right? So most menopausal women will experience brain fog. And then again, like I was talking about, certain gut bacteria can cause that brain fog as well. And then stress is a big causer of brain fog. And I think 20 years ago, maybe we weren't so stressed out. But everyone these days is stressed out. I mean, one of the big things I said, I didn't want to talk too much about COVID, but I'll bring it up, is one of the big things I think that a lot of people realized with COVID is how busy their life actually is and how they take some things for granted, right? Because how many people actually sit down and chew their food and eat? Not a lot of people.
Nope.
And that's a big thing, right? Because if we're not chewing our food, our brain's not getting that signal that, hey, it's time to digest. So I need to secrete all these enzymes to break my food down. And how many people have digestive issues like irritable bowel syndrome? Many, many people. And a lot of that just has to come with that we're not sitting down and we're not chewing our food and we're not eating properly.
We're shoveling and we're taking air in and we're not tasting, right? And is it true, or maybe this is like a Dr. Oz thing or something, I don't know, but is it true that like if you don't intentionally eat your meal, you could still be hungry when it's done because you haven't like
thought about
processed it and you're like mentally?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's always one of my things for every single patient that comes in is mindful eating. To sit down, like smell your food, chew your food and pay attention. Don't like look at your phone or watch TV or whatnot, which is okay.
I'm feeling like ding, ding, ding.
Or even walk and eat. Like some people just walk in, like our school is right by our clinic's right by a high school, right? And so we see a lot of kids eating pizza. They're just walking and they're eating. So that's a big thing. So I think that maybe 20 years ago, stress wise wasn't so high. And I think that that's a big contributor of why they didn't maybe experience as much brain fog.
And maybe if it isn't even about food,
just stress in general. Yeah.
Stress in general, right? Like, so,
absolutely.
Like say that additional stress and I'll just say that. Say that, not eating intentionally. And the additional stress that comes with that could be that you're just not sitting down for that 10,
Absolutely.
20, 30, 40 minutes. Like me, I like to have like a long sit-down dinner if we have time.
Yeah.
But just even taking that break.
Totally.
To sit down and connect with someone or to connect with your food or your surroundings, right?
And just be calm.
Yeah.
And breathe. Yeah.
Calm and breathe, yeah.
So that's what I think was that's what I think was good for the pandemic and being locked down is it gave you a chance to just sit and do nothing and relax. And actually a lot of patients like that. They were saying this is the first time that I've been calm and relaxed because normally I wake up in the morning and I'm go until I go to bed at night.
I'm one of the disproportionately affected work from home people that's working more than I've ever worked.
This is
sometimes my children will bring me a plate of food that they've made me.
That's not a good thing.
That's what's happening right now.
Yeah,
I will cut this out.
And you can cut this out too. I'm loving the pandemic. It is taking away all sorts of things that I wasn't enjoying.
And his family is in stage 1. They're staying in stage 1. This is as far. No one else in your family is even doing this. This is one little treat that you get.
Well, my whole life, people have had listened to me. Slow down, everybody, please slow down.
Yeah,
the world's going so fast. Slow down.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's like all of a sudden people are just behaving the way I've been asking for
a long time.
You're getting your way.
So I've always been fascinated by this man at the Stratford Garlic Festival.
Oh.
He passed away a few years ago. His name's Ted Maxa. He was an immigrant from Poland. And he dedicated his whole life to garlic.
Sure.
And educating people on garlic and promoting garlic. And even to the point where he played music for his garlic every day.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And he would give these amazing little speeches at the Stratford Garlic Festival and any festival that would have him. And he had this giant garlic bulb on his car and stuff. And he had hats with garlic on them. And he would say things like, I don't mean to speak, ill of drugstores, but they don't care about you. They care about making money. And I wish you would all just trust in the garlic. And he would talk like that. And he would go on and on about how garlic will help you here, help you there, help you here. He never claimed to be a doctor. But he had such a unwavering love for garlic and the belief that it was good for you. And he claimed that he ate garlic every day. He'd never been sick a day in his life. And he lived to be very old. And whatever you took away from that, you had to just love him. He was so passionate about garlic. And anybody who likes garlic, you can really immerse yourself in it and love everything that garlic gives you. But I was always wondering, I was left with questions about how much is garlic really believed in by health professionals?
That's a very good question too. I like garlic. Not gonna lie. Not only the taste, but garlic is very good for you in many ways. There's a lot of research promoting garlic for heart health, right? So that's a big one. And then the other thing is garlic has a component in it called allicin. And it is actually an antimicrobial. So it's really good for infections.
Don't they make creams and stuff out of that?
Yeah, they do. So that's another thing. And then the other thing that garlic has is a lot of prebiotics. So it's actually really good for your gut health as well. So there's a lot of research backing it. And that's the one interesting thing is as we go forward, we get research funded, and then we're able to find out what part of the plant is actually affecting our body and how that is affecting our body. So even though he has love for garlic, there's good research now backing why does the garlic work and how does it work, which is pretty interesting.
There's not many foods I would say this about, but putting fresh garlic in your body for me is equivalent of like I'll say a really ripe fresh piece of mango is like eating life. Like it's like putting life. And I know I love all sorts of foods, but there's only a handful I can think of that when you actually eat them, you think, wow, everything about this feels so right. Good. Yeah, and that's what garlic feels like to me.
And it's really interesting because other people will eat garlic and feel terrible. So,
and is that gut health?
That's gut health.
Tell us about that.
So, like I said, garlic has a lot of good prebiotics in it, which are good for the gut. But let's say if you have some bad bacteria growing, those prebiotics sometimes can grow good bacteria, but then can also grow bad bacteria. And so a lot of people will feel indigestion or burping or bloating from garlic. And that's how, honestly, when someone says that, I eat garlic and I don't feel well, that makes me think that maybe their gut health's not so good.
Yeah. That's good to know. I'm going to backtrack here. So I want to kind of know how you got to this path of becoming a naturopathic doctor. So your parents are land developers. That's right to say.
Yep.
Your brother's a builder, land developer. Catherine is an educator.
Totally.
And she's in everything. She's kind of a jack of all trades,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
And you've gone down this different path. How did you get there?
Oh,
What did everyone think?
Sure. That's okay. So I will say it's been an interesting path. So originally I went to school in Bowling Green State, Ohio. I was a competitive swimmer, and my idea was that I wanted to be a GP, general practitioner. So I went for that. I went into health sciences, and in my third year of swimming, I tore a ligament in your shoulder called the labrum. And that was probably one of the most painful experiences I had.
And you've had children.
I have children. Okay. Yeah. It was terrible. It was pain in the morning, pain at night. And it wasn't good because nobody believed me that it was that bad, right? And so then I went to my doctor here, who's Dr. Lee. He's a sports medicine doctor at Waterloo Sports Medicine. And he said, no, your shoulder's most likely torn. You need to get an MRI. So yeah, I went back to school with the letter, and the doctor, the orthopedic surgeon, said, yeah, we'll do an MRI. Got an MRI. And probably about a week later, I had shoulder surgery. So I had that surgery, and I did some rehab, and then I got back to school. And in the States, they're like, oh no, you're going too slow. Like this surgery usually takes anywhere from 6 months to 1 year to fully heal from. I didn't know that at the time.
I'm learning that right now.
There you go. I was like, 18 years old. I don't really care.
I'm thinking of having 2 C-sections, and they're like, 6 weeks, you'll be good.
I know, right? Yeah. So they're like, oh yeah, but I know this now. I didn't know that then. And so I went back to school, and I had this surgery in May, and I was back in school in August, and they said, oh, those physios in Canada, they don't know. You need to get back in the pool and you need to start swimming. And so I said, okay, whatever, you're the boss. You're the boss. So I got back in the pool, and then my shoulder started hurting again. So the orthopedic surgeon saw it. He said, you need another MRI. And he said, it's starting to tear. You're done. That was it. My last year of swimming. And that was pretty devastating because it's your senior year, and being in, American school, that's a pretty big deal.
Big deal.
And so I was like, okay, but my shoulder still hurt. Even though it was fixed, it still hurt, to the point I was taking about 800 milligrams of Advil every day, which that's what, 2, 4, that's about four, regular Advil per day. So my cousin, Christiana, Dr. K, she's a naturopath too. And she said, well, why don't you do some acupuncture? And the acupuncture helped. And so that made me really reassess what I wanted to do. And so
what you maybe thought about the whole process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then I thought, okay. And so, I did it and it helped dramatically. And I was like, oh, well, this is a little bit different. And so then I started investigating into naturopathic medicine, and then I decided I want to be a naturopath.
And you went to school here?
I went to school here, at the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine, which is in Toronto on Leslie and Shepherd. So I lived in Toronto for 4 years. And it's a pretty intensive program. So it's a 4-year program in which you learn basic physiology and pathology and how to diagnose certain disease. But then you also learn nutrition and acupuncture and botanicals and different herbs. And then your last year of school, you're in a clinic. So you have to work in the school's clinic and you treat patients under other naturopathic doctors' care. Yeah.
That's amazing. So to me, you've carved out this perfect life for yourself. Now everything looks perfect from the outside. You run a clinic.
Yep.
You have a family.
Yep.
You also have time for your athleticism.
True.
And you have been triathloning and biathloning and Ironmanning and Ironwomaning. And I know I'm not saying all these things right.
Yeah, that's okay.
I want to hear more about your athletic life now.
Ooh, all right. It's interesting.
I gotta sit back.
It's so being a swimmer, that's one of the hardest part of triathlons. Well, I don't think it's I think it's easy, but I think a lot of people think the swim portion is difficult.
And you have an advantage there.
And I have an advantage.
Wonderful.
So it all started. So I had my 2 boys pretty quickly. That was not on purpose. I'm not gonna lie, but that's okay.
How did it happen?
I know, right? That was a surprise. So they're 1 year and 2 weeks apart. So life was a little bit crazy, but being a competitive swimmer, you're swimming 10 times a week, then going to school and university, trying to get A's. So you're doing that. And then we had strength training twice a week. We had Pilates once a week. So my life has always been like that. So I've been good at balancing. I've just done it. It's just what I've been doing my whole life, as a competitive swimmer and student, I guess. I had the boys, and then I was I still am into sports medicine and sports nutrition for athletes. So triathletes are very type A, and they want to always be the best, right? So what can I do to improve my nutrition to be the best? And so I would see a lot of triathletes, and they knew I was a good runner, and they knew I was a swimmer. And so a few of the ladies were like, oh, you need to do triathlon. And I was like, I don't have a bike. And so the one's like, that's fine. I have a bike for you.
Well, these cyclists always have extra bikes. I have borrowed bikes from cyclists.
It's true.
Like they just always have this great one just lying around.
Absolutely. It's like an addiction. It is. It's like an addiction.
I secretly think that they have to justify the cost of the new bike by letting people borrow
their old bikes. That is true. I'm not gonna lie. I have 1, 2, 3 bikes. Yeah.
You're one of those people. Do you loan any of them out?
Yeah. I have. I'm not gonna lie about that. But So I borrowed her bike and I did well. And I'm a very competitive person. And so that kind of it lit the fire for me to want to become a triathlete and eventually an Iron woman, Iron person, Iron man. So I started doing it and I loved it. And I think the reason why I love it is, as much as I love being a naturopath, I see a lot of patients every day. And so for me, and I have a family, I have 2 kids who, they're always asking me questions and I'm always helping them and playing with them and enjoying them.
And I do remember your lovely husband, Charlie, telling us that although he did a long stint as stay-at-home dad, you carry the weight of things that get done in the house.
Correct.
That's what he told us.
That is true.
Okay.
So, for me to go be able to run or bike on my own and be by myself and have quiet.
Crack of dawn.
Is awesome. And I like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what drives me to do it still. And wanting to win. I'm not going to lie. So I train, but and people ask me, how do I balance that? But that's just always been a part of my life. So it's not much different.
No, it's not like you're making new time.
Right.
For this exercise. It's always been
part of my life. Yeah. So an Ironman is very challenging, and I still have yet to complete a full Ironman and be happy about it.
I was like, no, you've finished some. Haven't you won some? And you're
well,
I'm not happy about my winnings yet.
No, I've done well in a half Ironman, But in a full Ironman, I've completed them and I've done really well. I'm being humble. People tell me I'm too humble, but I haven't completed one and come top 3.
Okay,
which I would
so that's a goal for you.
That's a goal for me.
Yeah, what are some of the activities in those Ironman? Is like shot put one of them or something, or archery? Like sometimes I see them. I think, what all do you have to do?
Yeah, what's the one where you have to shoot a rifle?
I think that's a pentathlon.
Pentathlon.
Yeah.
5 events.
Sorry, is it biking, running, swimming? Is that what it is?
Yeah, triathlon. Yeah.
Okay.
So an Ironman is a full distance. So that is 3.9 kilometers of swimming, 180 kilometers of biking, and then 42.2, so a full marathon at the end.
So in a row. This isn't what you're collecting on your Fitbit throughout the year.
Yeah, no, this is in a row in one day.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you eat? Oh. I mean, I know these are naive questions, but I need to know.
That's okay. Yeah, everyone eats, so lots of experimenting that way, and everybody eats different things. I have found over time that I do best with real food. So I
would assume.
Yeah. Well,
it's not all whey protein drinks.
Right. A lot of people do just sugary drinks and gels, and I find that just irritates my stomach.
For sure.
And people can do it, but I can't. So I will, on the swim, I don't eat anything. Obviously, you're in the water. But then on the bike, I'll eat sandwiches. So
it's just like a hip sack, fanny pack full of I would call funeral sandwiches, the little triangle.
Egg salad.
Yeah, I know. So I'll toast white gluten-free bread, and then I put almond butter on it, and then I drizzle maple syrup. There's your maple syrup. Yep. I drizzle that over top, and then I cut it in 4s.
So you can shovel them in while you're
biking.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I do. And then I have an electrolyte drink.
Right.
On the side, and then during the run I do take those they're called Cliff Blocks, so they're just full of like sugar, basically,
because you need it. It's not normal for you to.
Correct. I would not normally eat
it makes me think of every time I've watched an action movie with my husband, like for days they're chasing a bad guy or running from a bad guy and nobody stops for a snack.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen.
No, I mean there's got to be something. There's got to be a Gatorade or a power bar or something.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's what I will eat, and then I'm really hungry after.
What's recovery like from something like that?
My recovery has not been bad, but that's only because I've had, so my first Ironman I did was in Mont Tremblant. And I did drink quite a bit of lake water, but that's where I learned that maybe liquid nutrition's not good. So what some people do is they take water and they mix this maltodextrin concoction.
What's maltodextrin?
Sounds
familiar.
Yeah, it's in some foods, but it's a sugar compound.
Okay.
So it's like a complex carb that you break down. But I did that, and I was on the bike and things were going well. And I thought, there's so many calories per milliliter, right? And so I was like, I think I took in half the bottle, so I'm not going to take any more. And it was a hot day. And then I finished a loop, and then I saw some guy squirting water on himself. I'm like, why haven't I been doing that? Because it's so hot. So I did that. And then I looked at my bottle. I only drank a quarter. And I was like, oh, wow, I haven't taken in enough calories. I need to drink the rest. Well, that's not good. And I tell my athletes, don't ever do that because you're going to end up with gut issues. Yeah. So on the run, my stomach emptied really quickly. And then I had to go to the porta potty.
Oh, shoot.
After I did one loop, I did 21K, it was fine. But then after that, every single so I was walking. I ran 21K. So my recovery after that was fine.
Right.
And then I ended up with a parasite as well.
Really?
Yeah, from the lake.
From the lake water.
I drank a lot of lake water.
Heard that.
Which is gross. That's pretty gross. So I had to get treated for that. And then this past November in Arizona, Arizona's supposed to be typically warm, but it was cold. It was 7 degrees Celsius in the morning. And then we got in 62 Fahrenheit water, so a cold swim for 4K, which was also a disgusting body of water. It's kind of a man-made channel, and there were cigarette butts and dead fish. And I was like, oh my God. I know. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to see this. But anyway, I swam. And I didn't get a parasite from this when I kept my mouth nice and shut.
Keep your mouth shut.
Other than the air coming in when I would breathe. And then...
sorry, too bad you didn't hear our show with a hydrogeologist and groundwater expert.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who would have said, don't drink that.
Yeah, no, don't open your mouth in that water.
Sorry, go on, Dr.
That's
Tina.
okay. And then I got on the bike, and getting onto the bike, it was still probably 13 Celsius, which is really cold.
And you're wet.
On a bike, and you're wet. And it was not supposed to be windy, but it was windy and overcast. And so this one was a looped course. You had to do 3 loops of the bike. So then everything's going pretty good, and the sun's starting to come out on the 3rd loop, and then all of a sudden I had this crazy knee pain, and it hurt out of the blue. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it back to the transition. I'm going to have to pull over. Someone's going to have to drive me back.
With the little car.
And I'm pedaling with one leg.
Oh, man.
So I pedaled with one leg for that last loop, which is 60K.
And you're clipped in,
You're
right?
clipped
so you
in.
can pedal with one.
Yeah. So barely using this other leg. And I get in, and I'm almost crying. Aww. And I see Charlie, and he's like, he knew on my face I wanted to be like, I'm done. And he's like, you're fine. Just go. Go get it.
Run with B. Run with B.
Just run. You're going to be completely fine. So I was like, okay. So I get running, and it was good for 10K, and then it just acted up. So then again, I had to walk. So my knee was pretty banged up for a good week after that race. But again, I wasn't too sore because I didn't have to run the full 42K.
42 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Marshall?
He's like, no.
It's a testament to humans.
Totally.
That people can do that. It's
absolutely
incredibly inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think, I wonder what the massage feels like the next day for you. Like there must be all sorts of things that are happening with your body. And,
do you do that? Do you go for massage right away after? No.
I wait a couple. I go, but I wait a couple days.
Mm-hmm. And it can't be all good. It must be painful.
No, it hurts.
Yeah,
it definitely does not feel good.
And then you help athletes.
Yeah,
that's kind of an area where you specialize in.
Totally.
And I guess it all kind of it works really well together if you're basically living the
dream. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're kind of walking the talk, I guess, right? At that point.
So, what areas do you cover there with athletes? Like,
Well, with athletes, generally nutrition. We look at their nutrition, and we also check their blood work, right? Because who knows what your nutrients are like when you're training excessively. So that's one thing, like especially with female athletes, we often will check their iron levels. And we'll check vitamin D levels just to get a baseline of where you're at. And with a lot of male endurance athletes, we actually check their testosterone because it oftentimes is low. So that's one of the areas that we focus on. And then I like doing a lot of acupuncture because obviously with training that hard, you're going to get some injuries. And I do find acupuncture is helpful and does help keep people healthy.
So I've always been fascinated by the idea of acupuncture, but I don't really know anything about it other than I've seen footage on TV of the little pins going into body parts or that chart where it shows where the pins should go.
Totally, yeah.
And are there immediate results that happen when you lay down for, I don't know, like an hour and do that?
Well, it depends on what kind of acupuncture you're getting. So traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture is what you're thinking about. And the results are not always immediate because it's about energy flow, right? And so a lot of TCM acupuncture is great for things like fertility and hormonal balancing and anxiety and addictions and sleep and whatnot. And so that's where you would have someone lay down and you do different points based on the Chinese medicine of each organ system and what they do. For immediate acupuncture relief, that's more for like muscular acupuncture. So let's say a good example is piriformis issues. So like sciatica, right? You get like this sciatica pain, and oftentimes it's due to the piriformis muscle, which is in your butt, deep down under all your glute muscles. And the sciatica runs through the piriformis. So when it's tight, it squeezes that nerve, and then you get that nerve pain down your leg. And
I've had that.
It's not fun. And people can't walk. It's bad. And
is it like a Charlie horse?
Is it
different? I would say different.
Sharp shooting pain. And I'll never forget because our good family friend, he had sciatica and he had been seeing his doctor for a while and doing everything. And he comes into the office and he says, I don't really believe in this crazy medicine that you do, but I trust you. And so I'm going to let you do some acupuncture. And I said, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was like, sure. But basically I do a lot of dry needling. And so that respect is that the muscle might have like a trigger point or a knot. And when you actually put the needle into the muscle, you get to this neuromuscular junction in which you actually stop the signal to the brain, and that whole muscle twitches and releases.
So I've heard that same theory. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I've heard that same theory where doctors try to give you like pain meds to break a pain cycle.
Correct.
Because you might not actually be in pain anymore, but your brain is telling you the pain still exists.
Yeah.
And it's not a mental health issue or a depression issue or anything like that. It's an actual signal that your brain still thinks that you're in pain. So they're breaking it with drugs. But this is something that can happen in a natural way, and that same
kind of, exactly.
idea.
It's almost like the muscle, the brain thinks the muscle's still injured, so it's staying tight to protect the muscle,
I
right?
see. Okay.
And so you put the needle in, you break that message, and the whole muscle relaxes. And so our family friend, he gets up and he goes, "It's gone." And then he messages me the other day and he's like, "It's 95% better. Why didn't I come see you sooner?" So that would
have these ideas,
I know.
right? Yeah.
And so that's where acupuncture, you can feel the immediate response. And that's with almost every single type of injury. I always have patients who are like, "Oh, my elbow feels better," or "My neck feels better."
Do you have any pains?
And actually my wife surprised me with Dr. Hose.
Yes, my father-in-law has that.
And I find that it works great sometimes.
It kind of like gets your body jigging around.
Yeah, whatever the results are, just the experience is really fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Just don't turn it to 10.
Yeah, don't turn.
I love doing that.
Just involuntary convulsions.
Oh my God.
Are you in pursuit of other areas to specialize in? Is the growth of your profession something where you see things and think, I'd like to kind of go further into that?
That's a good question. I really like gut health. That's one of the things that I
see even some of your posts and stuff lately have been over the last 6 months have been all this beautiful stuff you're learning about gut bacteria.
Yeah,
you're sharing that with your crowd, with your people,
definitely.
right?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I'd like to expand more on. More specifically, I put a lot of patients on a diet called the Low Fodmap Diet. There's a lot of good research on it for IBS, but I'd like to take a course on Low Fodmap diet and gut bacteria in athletes, and how that can benefit athletes. Because if you talk to a lot of endurance athletes or even hockey players or whatnot, they will all talk about gut dysfunction and pain and not feeling good, or having diarrhea before a game or before a race or whatnot. And those are all things that people don't have to experience.
Interesting.
So that's kind of my next thing that I'd like to adventure into.
When I first heard about organic chemistry and how they study testosterone and sports players and home field advantage, I first thought, none of this makes any sense. But some of the things you've said tonight, actually, I'm not questioning biologists. I just thought.
Even think about that, like that home field advantage thing that you said. Like if you're at home, you're eating the things you would normally eat and doing the things you would normally do, and maybe intentionally eating. You're not on the road. Some of that stuff, right?
Yeah, some of the stuff you've said tonight just completely ties in with my struggle to understand what it is they're talking about. I had this really simplistic idea of home team advantage, thinking, well, you like the sound of the fans, and maybe you like your own locker room, but it's far deeper. It's something far deeper than that.
The water,
everything, your food, your sleep. You're probably going to sleep a lot better.
There's an argument right now about the Blue Jays playing in their own space, and I remember thinking, what is there to really think about? Like, they're just playing in an empty venue.
Yeah.
But there must be all sorts of variables that play into that.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's going to be very interesting with sports.
As an athlete, when you travel for some of these big competitions, are you bringing stuff from home to eat? Yeah,
absolutely.
You're not relying on the right gluten-free bread and almond butter to be at the store. Maple syrup from the States. Pshaw.
Yeah, I will bring. What do I bring? Another thing I do eat on the bike is actually sushi rice.
Just mounds of it because it clumps together.
Yeah, it clumps together, and you can actually mix like coconut milk in it and some maple syrup and salt. So
sounds delicious.
it's actually a good treat on the bike. And so I will bring my own sushi rice, my own bread, And then also my own almond butter and my own maple syrup.
I know Charlie's a food lover. So what is he thinking when you're prepping your race food?
He's like, that's disgusting. No.
I do know he's a fan of sushi.
He likes sushi, but he's like sushi rice and like almond butter. What is that, Jazz?
Sounds good. Sounds pretty good.
Sure,
I did have one.
Yeah.
But it's not going to make sense. Like, maybe I just want to know about it myself. Wasn't there some kind of connection between? Have you found this in your gut health research? There's a connection between like brain injury,
absolutely,
and concussion with
and
gut health.
Absolutely.
What gives? What are you talking about? Like, I get it and I respect it, but I'm like, how?
So the way that it works is when you have your brain is connected to your colon via a nerve called the vagus nerve.
Okay.
And so
Sounds like a party.
Yeah. And so
or a good name for a band.
The vagus nerve.
Vagus nerve band. So when you get a concussion, this vagus nerve innervates your gut, and it actually switches bacteria in your gut. So anyway, I had a patient who has not been right digestively since having a concussion. And so there's some really interesting stool testing that you can do actually out of the US. It's a bit pricey, but it's this PCR test. So they check the stool for the DNA or RNA of certain viruses and bacteria.
So you poop in a cup, you wrap it up, send it off to some
the US,
fancy lab in the States,
Yep.
and they're testing it for the
DNA and the DNA of the bacteria and or RNA of the viruses. And so anyway, I was looking through her results, and this one bacteria came up, and I was like, oh, I really haven't heard anything about that bacteria, but it's really low. And then it turns out that this bacteria is needed for recovery of the brain from trauma. Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah. So then I did more research to find out how can we increase this bacteria, and we did, and she got better. Yeah, her memory got better, her gut got better. Yeah, so I thought
I don't think this is widely known.
No. So a lot of research now, and a lot of top medical doctors in the U.S. who specialize in concussion will say that you should not only treat the brain but treat the gut as well.
Do you find that you're often the last resort for some people? Just to bring our conversation full circle, we had a guest who talked about Lyme disease who just went through such a long, extensive process to try to find out what's wrong. Mm-hmm. And I'm just in awe of the fact that this person spent just minutes with you, and you already had a suggestion to make. And but I wonder why that is, why people take so long before they get to a naturopath.
Oh.
I think it's education.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. That's good.
I do. I think it's education because we are, our health system here in Ontario and in Canada promotes that your medical doctor is the only way to go. And even just with funding, like your services should 100% be covered by our healthcare system, by OHIP, and it's not. Like chiropractic care and all these other sorts of things. There's a time when chiropractic was covered, and then it was that major delisting that happened years and years ago. And I think that's part of it. Like, if it's not covered, you're not taking it seriously. Like, some types of psychotherapy aren't covered, and things that people need to survive, right? What's your answer, Tina, as a professional?
That is exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah, so it's not just cynicism and bad messages people get.
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Could be
a bit of both. I think that people don't know. Like, there's so many people who call me a homeopath, and I am definitely not a homeopath. I am a naturopath.
And again, that's
it's just education. Yeah. They don't know, and some people will come into my office. It's getting better, but I remember when I first started, one person commented, "Oh, you don't have herbs hanging from the ceiling," and I was like, "No,
that's not what we're doing.
That's not what we're doing." But I think a lot of people just don't know about our education, and it's also bridging our relationship with general practitioners, right? Because my belief is that if we both can work together, because I can spend much more time with a patient than, your GP can spend with you. So if we can work together, then that's when a patient's going to get ideal health.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can listen.
Yeah, I can listen. I can listen. It's true. And
you don't have a clip. You're not standing with a clipboard
trying to think and just digging deeper, right? Looking at the biochemistry of the body and why are these things happening? Yeah, you have high cholesterol, but why do you have high cholesterol, and what can we do?
And a lot of it starts with food.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. It's always food. More vegetables.
That's the phrase. That's the motto. That's a takeaway from today.
More vegetables.
More greens, more vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
So where can everybody find you for this wonderful service?
Oh, okay. Yes. I'm at Flow Health and Wellness, and we're located at 1450 Block Line Road, Kitchener.
And online?
And online, flowhealth.ca.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. This was
Yeah.
incredibly
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming today, even though I screwed up our time last week. Bye.
Hey all, thanks for meeting us in Bonn Park. Please like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on the platform that you're listening to. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bonn Park Podcast. Original music by Alan Lung.